Okay, I am so excited to be here with Jamie Bright, one of the pre-launch plan program students that took the program last time. And I'm excited to talk to Jamie because she is a wealth of knowledge and she has just taken a big change in her business that she's going to tell us about. And the other thing that I love about Jamie is like Jamie is like an OG internet marketer in my mind. Like she has been doing this for a long time. Like I've been doing this since 2018, and Jamie was like in this world way, way, way before that. So, Jamie, so glad you're here. Please tell everyone about you and about your story because it's fascinating to me.
Well, thanks. I'm happy to be here too. So I've been in this world forever. I started out blogging back in 2008 and 2009 for a photography business. And I saw how at that time effective it was to be online. And then I started saying, hey, how can I do this to grow faster? And I found Pro Blogger from Darren Rose, which is like the original blogging, SEO person. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I could do so much more than just fill a photography business. I can actually teach other people how I'm doing this and share like the Excel sheets and the stuff that I've got on pricing. And I just thought, why not? Like I love to share, I love to learn. And so I started a blog, and I had hoped maybe I could monetize it and replace my income in like 5 years. And I hit that in like 18 months. Like it just went, this is, I think, 2011 at this point, by the time I had gotten to all of this. And it was amazing. It was like, oh my gosh, I love helping people with this, but like doing photography is fun. But like if I can help other people have a life doing what they love, like that makes me come alive. So I just went all in on the internet marketing stuff. I learned copywriting and website coding because it was way harder back then. I feel so old saying that. And
I
like
think it's
learning how
hard
to,
now.
oh my gosh, learning like what webhooks are and just all this stuff that you just don't even need to know about anymore. But it basically like lit me up to be able to do this. It made my strategic side excited. And I grew that business helping photographers grow their own photography business to over 7 figures. And I did that for many years. And I loved it, but there was a part of me that had kind of outgrown it. But I had this big thing, and it's hard to leave something you've already created. But I really loved everything I had learned about doing stuff online, and really specifically collaborating and joining masterminds, and how I grew with other people. Like this isn't just because I built my own audience. Like I connected with people and collaborated and really grew together. And so like I'd wanted to run a mastermind for a few years for online marketers, but I was distracted by this. And it wasn't until COVID came and totally destroyed that business pretty much overnight, because photographers couldn't work with clients. So they don't have money, and they barely had money in the first place. And so my business just tanked. And I took that as a painful permission I needed to pivot. So I started running a mastermind, actually a course first, and then launched my mastermind. And, just like everyone else from 2020 on, we dealt with some pretty hard things emotionally. I went through some personal hardships, and it really was in survival mode for a couple of years. And I got people in initially. It was a good thing to kind of keep me going. But once I had kind of tapped the people who already knew me from my communities, I was really struggling to grow it from cold audiences, like people who didn't know me, and like figuring out what can I be known for on the front end, because masterminds was too broad if they didn't already have that trust for a high ticket purchase. I needed something on the front end that was either lower ticket or something more specific that I could be known for and referred for, and kind of theme my business around, so that I could get people who didn't know me already or know somebody in the mastermind already to come in, want to go through a lot of this warming up that we do and learn in the pre-launch process, and join my mastermind. And so I had literally been going around in circles with this for probably 3 years, saying, what is this thing? Because I know so much, and I've been doing this forever, and I could help with this, and I could help with that. And, these are all my gifts. And it was just like, I was in this forest, and I'd been throwing spaghetti against the wall. I felt like I was new again. It's like, I know how to build a business, but I knew I needed something. And I had so outgrown the photography stuff that I knew that I wanted to be as aligned with who I was today as possible. Like I was tired of playing small. And so, I found your email in the middle of your launch. So I didn't even see any of your pre-launch stuff. I think I had signed up because somebody had mentioned you were doing Voxer summits or, summits through Voxer, which I love Voxer and they knew that. And so I'd signed up, but never actually engaged or read any of your stuff, but something in one of the subject lines, I wish I could remember what,
Me too.
I know, me too, hit me. And all of a sudden I'm like, who is this Bren person? And I went deep in a rabbit hole for like, I don't know, an hour or two, kind of like, okay, who is she? But I found something you said somewhere. So sorry, that's not very helpful. Said one of your gifts was being able to really help hear what somebody's stuff is and reflect it back as like in the copy when you work with people one-on-one, which this wasn't about the one-on-one, you weren't writing copy for me, but the fact that you could take all of this stuff in their head and say, oh, here's kind of these core pieces, made me say, okay, one, I align with everything she's already saying about pre-launching. I'd done a ton of launches, some big multi-six-figure launches. Copywriting was something I dove deep into early on, and I could see that we aligned based on the ways you sent your email and the stuff you were saying in your interviews and your public stuff. And I really wanted somebody who could help me figure out what is this thing. Like, I'm really good at helping other people find clarity. I'm really good at hearing that for others, but doing it myself, I was in the weeds, and I had been in the weeds. And so I literally signed up that day. I mean, I literally could not have said that I knew who you were or were familiar. I wouldn't even have known I was on your email list before that, which sounds crazy. And I signed up for your VIP option specifically because I wanted to get that feedback from you and have somebody who could help me see which are the big trees and what is this thing I should be putting out front and then writing all of this pre-launch copy for, to get people warmed up and into my mastermind. So that's the really condensed version of where I was at and why the pre-launch program really appealed to me. Even though I knew a lot of copywriting, I knew a lot of stuff, I know that having somebody to bounce things off of was just like wildly valuable, who really gets it. Like, there's a lot of people who may know copy, but can't really hear somebody else's stuff. There's a lot of people that know how to coach, but can't translate that into copy. And I really saw this as a way to have both in one thing. And I know that if I sign up for something, like, I'm at the point where I'm just looking for the nuances, because even if you know a lot of it, it's those nuances that can make your investment back multiples over in just a moment. And I knew, and I felt very confident that if I went through this with you, between our conversations, between the content itself, that there'd be at least one or two nuggets that would make the rest totally worth it. So yes, I've been around a long time. I've been there, but I really needed somebody to help me do the exact same thing that, I help other people with, which is get that clarity on, what is this thing and putting something out front.
Yeah, no, I love that. There's so many things that you said. And the one thing I really want to point out is, and this is what I saw, especially with the last round, was a lot of people joining. It was like, these aren't people who are new to marketing or who never like thought about a pre-launch or never written copy, but going and doing this for yourself is really hard. And like you said, when you're in the forest of your own business and what's going on, especially when you want to make changes, but you don't know which way to make a change, is can be, it can be frustrating. And I love what you're talking about here, because you found me. And then even though you didn't go through the entire pre-launch, at that point, you went back and looked at everything I'd been talking about, if I remember, like from our initial talk, and, podcasts and everything. And I think that is, even if someone is not, I think this is a good representative, like, even if someone's not going along your whole entire pre-launch with you, at that point, there might be something you say that makes them go back and consume it all at one time. And like you said, like, we never talked, you joined the VIP, the more expensive option. And that was it. And that was based on not our conversations, but the messaging that was in. And that's what I'd like to show people as well. Like, how can you message things in a way that when someone does find you, that they were like, yes, this is what I want, that they come to you as a buy-in, not you. Actually, I'm sending an email tomorrow about it. Instead of you going out and like waving your arms, it's a way of like, okay, how can I attract people based on my thoughts, feelings, alignment, all of those things that you mentioned. So I love that. And so when you got in, you had a very specific purpose of coming into the program. And I know that you said like the tipping point was being able to have someone reflect back to you, which is what I love about the program. It's very hands-on. It's
It
not,
really is.
yes, there's not just information that you can apply, it's also the application of the information, which is so important. And so talk to us a little bit about like what your experience was when we did start working together, because you started to work on a major transition in your business.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was you gave us all the content up front, which I loved because I'm a mom with 6 kids. I have certain work times. If I have to wait for content to get dripped out, it drives me crazy. And so my first thing was, I'm going to go through as much of the content as I can to get a basis of this. Like I didn't do a lot of it right away because I knew I would have time to apply with you, but I binged a lot of it immediately. And by the way, for people who are more advanced, there's a bunch of junk out there. This is really good. This was actually, because there's always that feel like, oh, this is going to be too basic or whatever. And no, it's really legitimately fantastic. And so 1, that built trust in me. And then 2, I signed up right away because part of the VIP package was having this 1-hour time together on Zoom where you would, and we didn't know each other. You had no idea who I was. I didn't really know you besides what I had binged. And so I think I signed up on like the very first date that was available for me, that worked for me and for you when you sent that out, so that I could start this time together with a basis of understanding. And I was motivated. Like I was ready to make this happen. And so that's where I started. I got the basis of information. I love that. I set up the meeting, and then I started to really, and I came to that. And you just had said, what's the biggest thing? If we could get this out of this meeting, what would just make you like thrilled? And I'm like, I just need to know what to focus on as I apply all the stuff in the pre-launch process, because I wanted to, like I said, use it to warm people up to get into my mastermind. So that's really where I started and how I approached it coming into it and my first impressions of it. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go in circles a little bit when I'm explaining because I'm so excited, and then I forget if I actually answered the real question.
No, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. No, I think you answered the question perfectly. And I think this is something, and it's something definitely like if you're thinking about the program, it's like yes, we're working on the pre-launch, but we're getting so clear upfront on what it is we're selling, and whether that's tweaking an offer, whether that is getting comfortable speaking about the offer, or whether it's trying to figure out how the offer needs to change or adapt with where you're at in your business. And that is something that we work on for first and foremost, before anything else happens, because obviously that's the end point. That's where we're pushing people to. So if we don't get really clear on that, and I remember that meeting and just being like, okay, and then having a moment where you could walk away and be like, okay, at least now I know what I need to focus on. And I think that's sometimes, like you said, and I think that is what you said earlier, is like, where do I even start with all of this? And getting that clarity is priceless. And not that it doesn't ever change, right? There's always like tweaks and evolvement, right? And I think we did a lot of evolvement as we kind of went through and did this together. And so can you tell, like, if anyone is like, tell people like, what did the experience look like? Like, because we talked a lot on Voxer, because you had Voxer access to me. We talked a lot, whether it was in coaching calls. Can you tell like, once you're inside, what went on?
Yeah. So, like I said, first you get the course all up front, which was beautiful. But then you do have the support, and it was a nice, small, intimate Facebook group. And I was so excited that it wasn't just a bunch of newbies who didn't know anything about market. Like almost everybody had a pretty good base, was established, and they were interactive and really helpful. Like I got to know a number of the people in the group and still keep in touch with them and get feedback from them. And it was just really supportive, I guess is the best way to put it. So not only was it phenomenal information that was really clearly organized, it was also this community aspect, and you showed up so well and so often and gave so much in that group, even outside. Like we had these Q&A calls once a week that were, I don't know if they were like how you described them exactly. I don't remember how you put it on there, but they were kind of like coaching hot seats. So it's like, what are you working on? How can I help you? Where's your copy? Let me give you feedback. And it was really interactive, and you went way deeper than a lot of instructors do in their courses. And I could just tell how invested you were in the process, but also in our results. Like you didn't hold back. Like I know not everybody in there took the VIP, and I'll talk about that in a second, that part. But even for the people who didn't, like, you were in their stuff in a really tangible way, or, I know that you're bringing other people in to help with that as well. And like, people were so genuinely generous with their feedback. So that was beautiful. And watching and seeing what other people were putting as they were going through the process of actually doing the work, not just learning, but doing the work, was really helpful too as a participant, to be able to see, like, oh, that's how I would change that, or, oh, that's a great idea. And like, I know I took, there's a couple things that you said in there that really changed a lot of how I look at things. Like, people will go and, they'll go up to an offer, but they won't go down. So like, if an offer is above them, they'll still potentially join. So you're not going to lose people below that. But somebody who's more advanced will never buy a more beginner thing. And like, that was a nuance that was like, oh gosh, yes, like, speak up here. You're not going to lose everybody, but you will make sure you can attract. And that was just like one itty bitty tiny thing you said within this whole thing that came out of these coaching calls. And sometimes I've been on coaching calls where it's like, is this really worth the time to listen to other people's stuff and like their questions? Is it relevant? Is it not? But there are always really great nuggets to take from that. But the VIP experience, which was Voxer, so we got a 1 hour Zoom and Voxer access for the length of the course. And that was exciting to me because I love Voxer, and I loved the momentum and accountability that it gave me. So I made a personal commitment to make sure that I was reaching out to you basically once a day, or at least every other day, with something, because I know, like, there's this part of me that's like, oh, what if I'm bothering her? Did it, like, you're paying for it, but you don't want to bother the person you really respect. But you made it at the beginning, the whole way that you framed it. You're like, I love doing this. This is fun for me. I do it naturally with my friends. So you're not bothering me. Like, please use this. Don't be afraid to message me. And so that was just giving me that internal permission as I'll just say it, I'm a people pleaser. And so like, giving me that internal permission to like message you and some boundaries, so I know, okay, this is kind of what it's for and what it's not. And I just felt so much freedom and help. And I'd message and you'd always get back to me within a business day. And it was really, it really kept me making momentum in my progress. So it wasn't like, like I would get stuck somewhere and then have to wait a whole week or, whatever until the next call. So I had this access to you, and you were so generous in letting me take it outside the scope of what we were doing. Like, I got that clarity in that first call, and then I had to sit with it for a bit to really make sure, because I reflect back the emotions of other people. So like, when you get excited about something, I'll feel excited about it. And I have to really make sure that it's my emotions and not just somebody else's. And so I sat with it, and I could bounce that off to you, like saying, this really feels good, but I don't know if I want to call it this, and I, like, I have hesitations here, and here's where I'm kind of feeling blocked. And having somebody to bounce that off of, or like, oh my gosh, is this really going to work? Or, whatever, was so helpful. And what came out of that was I actually redesigned my core offer. Like, I still have a mastermind, but instead of just adding something to the front end and doing this pre-launch process and only focusing there, through our conversations, I actually realized that I really wanted to be known for pivot coaching, and that was actually a higher ticket offer on the top end that would include the mastermind. And I wasn't planning that at all. And just having you there and willing to talk through, like, creating this offer and what would this look like. And, that was well beyond the scope of what you were teaching in PPP. And you're just like, oh no, this is great. I'm happy to help, whatever. And then getting so clear on that offer that I could then go back and start applying it to the stuff in the program was just really beautiful. So I really found it, you really went above and beyond what I was expecting. I just wanted to know my topic. We covered that in that first meeting, and I was like, okay, yeah. And then everything else after that was just this beautiful bonus experience, I guess, that benefited me in ways that I wasn't expecting. And I really appreciated how you were so open and like happy to go above and beyond. Like, I never felt like I was overstepping the bounds. Like, you were so good about, you're like, no, this is helpful. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, no, and that's my goal with the program, right? Like pre-launch to me, like, it is what we do, but everything that comes before and after that, right, is so important in our businesses and feeling good about our offer and how we're talking about it and our customers. And so it was a pleasure. I loved working with you. We had such great
Thank you.
conversations, and Jamie helped me in my business. Like she's such a great coach in business, and like she ended up reflecting stuff back to me. So I was incredibly thankful for that as well. And so I know like you created this brand new offer, actually pivoted, which is ironic, right? Since you're a
Ironic.
pivot coach, right? So we helped you along with your pivot of like what you were going to talk about so that you could apply. So now, I guess I have two questions, which is because you're applying, first of all, I'll ask them together, that you're applying what you took from inside the pre-launch plan program in your own way, which I think is beautiful because it is in my mind, such a foundational part of business is figuring out how to talk about your offers in a way that's compelling to get people interested. And so I would love for you to talk about how you're applying the curriculum, maybe a little bit different than having the big launch. And also the second part of it is what were the results when you did, because you did start putting some of this content out to your people, and what happened?
Yeah. So I have been in the launch world and I've done launches in the past, like multi-six-figure launches. And it was great and it's exhausting. And I had done a bunch of pre-launch coming up to that. So this concept wasn't new to me. And what I had learned in the photography business that before it was destroyed was that you could take that same content and apply it to an evergreen funnel. And where I'm at today in my life, as much as the excitement, like there's something about launches that really do accelerate results, the energy, the excitement, the event, like the whole group cohort feel. And by far, it's a great way to make a lot of money in a big amount of time. But I needed something more sustainable for the life that I want to have now. And I'm not afraid to launch. I know how to do it, but evergreen just suits me better. And with this high ticket pivot coaching, I don't need I want 7 people total, like I don't need a lot of people. And so what I decided to do was to take the content, and it was just laid out so simply. And it's a whole process for figuring it out, which is just really methodical and simple and powerful. And I love that. It wasn't like bloated like some things you take are, and it was very actionable. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to follow this and I'm just going to start putting it out. So like you have a whole calendar and you tell the days and when and what. I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth to do all of that yet. I'm not leading up to a specific date. I actually want to have my clients come in a little bit more spread out because I do a bigger onboarding with them. And so I just started I just wrote the first email, and I went through it, and I'd done the process to prep for it and had talked with you through the VIP stuff. And I sent that out, and I've never done the pre-selling. I think that was the big thing too. That was a big eye opener for me is you can't buy until the doors are open. I never had an option to purchase beforehand because you shouldn't, based on what I was taught for, all that stuff in the past. And so this was a new idea for me to pre-sell something. So, I just shared in the first email, and I just shared the stuff that you recommended. And at the bottom, I did the little PS. I'm going to be opening up some pivot coaching spots, coming up soon in January. If you're interested in this and you want to see what it's about or hear about it before it's open, since I'm only going to have a few spots, just reply and let me know. And I had somebody reply right away and sign up for a 5-figure coaching plan with me off the bat from that very first email. And so that was one exciting because I was like, all right, well, that paid for the course and everything. Like, that's great. Everything else is gravy at this point. But it just showed me how sometimes something so tiny and subtle, but really intentional and nuanced can just make it easy. Just make it easy so that you don't have this pressure to, you got to open the doors, you got to fill it in this time. And, what if they don't hear, and what if they don't open, and what all this stuff? It just took the pressure off. And so the way that I've approached applying this is I'm literally just going through it and writing them. And I'll be honest, I've only done 2 or 3 of your emails. Sorry. At this point, I've done I've done lots of the pre-work. I've done so much of the client research and the wording, and it's a breathing, changing thing. But I write them and I send them when I have time to send them. So I'm just literally going through it slowly, along with all the other stuff that I've already got scheduled. And then I'm taking those pre-launch emails and I'm putting them into a welcome sequence. So now anybody who comes in is automatically going to get those first because they're so psychology driven and so intentional. And they really do build that trust early on and help people see, is this for me or not? And if it's not, like, that's okay. That's the first thing I want them to see, no matter whether they come in, today or in 3 months or whatever. And so I'm kind of slowly implementing it. I'm not doing it according to your schedule. I'm totally making it evergreen. And, I will occasionally do some events to get people into call. I'm not even asking them to buy. I'm asking them to get on a call because I custom package things for people. So I have a couple different ways people can coach with me, but I'm just writing it as I have time and putting them here. And so it's very simple. It's like using this much of what you teach. You do lay it out. You could totally go through it, do everything and see results much faster and do the live launch. But this way, every single person who comes into my world new is going to have these emails. And then once I have them done, I'll probably split test a few of them. But for now, I'm just taking it and going, and eventually I'll review and revise with new updated language and what I've learned. And but it's simple, and I know from my past experience that it works the same way. It's the same psychology for evergreen versus a launch. It's just that I'm actually making it an amped up welcome sequence, whatever you want to call it, to get people in and interested.
Yeah, no. Well, I love what you said. Like, something I want to point out is that you said you did this much of it and saw an ROI already on the program. And so the fact that it's not that it's what's inside the program can be shaped and adapted to what you need. So once you have, and for anyone who's like watching or thinking about it, once you have all of that laid out before you, it's a lot easier to go, oh, okay, I'm going to take some of this, like that. With a program, obviously it's laid out where you could go step by step, but you can also go, hey, I'm going to take some of this. I'm going to take some of this because this is what works for me, and apply it in your own way. And versus trying to figure it out on your own. And I think that is what I love about what's in the program. And so moving forward, if someone is thinking about, like, is this the right program? Is it the right investment for me? I know you can't speak for someone else, but like, what would you say to anyone who's thinking about taking the program in the future?
So one of the things that I really love about the program is that you don't just share what to do, but you share the principles behind it, which is why I can take it and modify it for my situation, because it's like, oh, this is why we're going to use this topic and talk this way in this email. And look, there's a bunch of templates, so I can just grab one and, make it easy to see what that looks like and apply it to my situation. And so, for me, I came in with a lot of copywriting experience. I came in with a lot of launch experience. I did a lot of pre-launch and anticipation building, and I loved having this really clear, just laid out plan to help me overcome the overthinking. I think if you get stuck in your head, even if you know the stuff, and you just want somebody to be like, here's what you write in the first email and the second email and the third email, and here's where they go. It just took a huge mental load off, while also understanding, why do we write this? Because when you understand that why and what the purpose is behind it, and how to know that that's really going to land, like, you don't just guess. You have this whole process for making sure that your voice of customer is actually their voice. You're not guessing here, right? And so when you go through that process and you just follow, it just saves so much time, so much overthinking. And if you're like me and you need clarity, like, maybe you're not sure if your offer is the right offer, or maybe you're not sure if, your opt-in is the right opt-in, whatever it is, like, having you there to reflect that back to me, but also the process kind of helps you dig into that as well, was just invaluable. So I think for anyone who, obviously, if you've never studied any copywriting, it's gold. If you launch and you're just like, I don't even know what to send, I just kind of launch and nobody knows, and then I do it and it closes and meh, this is phenomenal. But even for somebody who's further along, I think just having it laid out so simply and so cleanly and really explaining the why behind everything, it just made it so simple. And it was just so nice to have. I mean, it was like getting to peek into your business and say, oh, here's what she does. That looks great. Let's take this, apply it to my business this way and go. And then obviously having you there to help me with thinking through some of the things and reflecting back was just invaluable on top of it. So I would definitely say that, this isn't a beginner course in terms of like, you're not just getting fluff. There's a lot of people who are just real basic, like, features and benefits or whatever. Like, this is meaty and it works really well. And it's really simple. It's not hard. And then you couple that with all the support, and it's one of the few things I've purchased in the last several years that I've actually said, gosh, that was worth every penny and more, because it's hard to find really good, more advanced things out there that are so simple.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I almost get teary hearing that. So thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you for being here and taking the time out of your very busy day and to talk with me. And if you're watching this, pre-launch plan program opens up in March, and would love to give you more information if you're interested. So just let me know. Thank you, Jamie, for being here. I so appreciate it.
Thank you, Brenna.
Bye.